Welcome to another episode of the Less is More Sports Podcast. As you can tell, I got my Miami Heat jersey on. I'm super excited after that Game 5 victory over the Los Angeles Lakers, 111 to 108. But before we dive into most of the stats about the game, we woke up a few minutes after the game. A conversation started brewing. Lucas, I already know you touched on it a little bit, but the conversation became, obviously, when LeBron James has a chance to take the lead for the Lakers late in the game, he obviously drives to the hole. He's met by three Heat defenders, kicks out to a wide-open Danny Green, who, as we all know, missed the shot. So now the conversation became, did LeBron make the right play by passing it to the open shooter, or should he have taken the shot like the Kobe's and the Jordans of the world would have done? Klucas, I know you got plenty to say about this, so go ahead.
You can't even say like the Kobe's and the Jordans of the world because Jordan gave it to Steve Kerr on a almost similar play, somewhat. So can't say, oh, Jordan would have taken the shot. Kobe would have taken the shot. Jordan had the opportunity and deferred to Kerr at times, deferred to Paxson. Why? Because it's a smart basketball play. It's the right play to make. Everybody in the gym knows that you're getting the ball, whether you're taking the shot or not. It's the right play. And whether he had passed the ball like he did or taken the shot, he would have received hate for it no matter what. You know, had he taken the shot over 3 or 4 Heat defenders and missed, oh, well, Danny Green and KCP were wide open on the side. Why didn't he kick it out? You know, why didn't he do that? Why didn't he do this? But he passes it out and, oh, he just doesn't have that killer mentality. He didn't take the shot. Stop me. Miss me with the nonsense. Because had he taken a shot and missed, they would have hated him for taking the shot and not kicking it out to a wide open player. So that's my thoughts on it. It was the right basketball play. And anybody that knows basketball knows that no matter what player it is the right basketball play that wins games.
I would have to agree. I mean, yeah, obviously there's something to be said for your star player. You want the ball in your star player's hands to close out a game. But like you said, the ball was in his hands. He drove to the rim, was met by 3 defenders, kicks out to a wide open guy who is literally on the roster to do one thing, or really 2 things, and that's shoot threes and play defense. Kind of a heads-up play there. But obviously, as you and me get kicked off into a big episode today with a lot to talk about, we're going to dive a little bit in the game into where the Heat are right back into the series. Now trailing 3-2, needing to win the next 2 to stay alive and win the championship. Klucas, what were your thoughts on last night's game?
Kind of like how what Spencer said last night. It was just so great to watch Jimmy Butler and LeBron down the stretch just go back and forth. Once again, another player has cost LeBron a pivotal game, a great game by him, an individual performance by him. I just don't know what was going through Marquise Morris's head. I had somebody try to tell me, well, he was trying to dump it down low to Anthony Davis and he got pushed in the back. But if you go back and look at Marquise' pass, it was nowhere even near in the vicinity that AD even originally was. So, yeah, did AD get pushed in the back? Yeah, but it was out of the play, which is why the refs wouldn't have called it. So, I want to know what was going through his head, especially on the last possession when LeBron, if you go back and look, was wide open. Les, do you remember another play in an NBA Finals where somebody made a blunder where LeBron was wide open?
I believe he was he's actually on the Lakers right now, if I'm not mistaken. I believe he forgot how much time was left on the clock, something like that. I believe his slogan is anything is possible. Is that starting to ring a bell to what this guy's name might be?
Yeah, I think his name is J.R. Smith. So, I mean, I just don't understand. I understand I play basketball at a high school level and everything. You know, I understand, things, you're kind of thinking of things on the fly for the most part. But to make a blunder like that,
Just to throw the
it's
ball away.
obviously not as bad as the J.R. Smith one because J.R. Smith just completely dribbled out the clock when they could have taken a shot.
Mm-hmm. If J.R. Smith literally puts any shot up towards the
anything
rim,
than what he did, then
anything else than what he did, it's better than just dribbling out the clock.
God.
You all right there, bud? You focused?
I feel like you for a second. I just watched Kyle Pitts just freaking moss over 2 defenders.
I'm going to tell you something. Before we get into our college football section of the show, I just want to say Kyle Pitts is probably, in my opinion, the best tight end prospect that I've watched since Eric Ebron was at North Carolina. But back to the more important game at the moment.
Anyway, yeah. So, sorry. Felt like you for a second there. I got distracted.
Shade.
But yeah, I mean, to make a blunder like that and to not, like you said with the J.R. Smith thing, he could have done anything other than what he did, and it wouldn't have been as bad. Put up a shot, kick it to another shooter for a shot, whatever the case may be. Markeith, and when you look at the play at first, it's like, okay, first glance I did, and I'm sure you did, was like, did he just try to shoot that?
Mm-hmm.
Was that what that was? And then you go back and look, and then you're actually watching. You're like, okay, no, that was a pass. I'll give him that benefit of a doubt. But like I said, supposedly the pass was supposed to go to AD, but AD wasn't even nowhere near in the vicinity of his original pass.
Right.
So I want to know what he really was doing. I think what he was more expecting of was hopefully getting a foul call, and he didn't get that. So that's my take on it. I got a feeling that due to this, and how close, all these games have been, and LeBron was this close to capturing number 4 last night. I got a feeling we're going to get one of those, as Skip and Shannon like to say, we're going to get one of those virtuoso games on Sunday from LeBron. We're going to get a huge game to close this series out.
I'll say, he had a huge game last night as well. He's one of 3 players in NBA Finals history with a 40-point game and shooting over 70% from the field. You'll actually appreciate this because when I got home last night, I was watching SportsCenter, and they were talking about the other 2 players to do it, obviously Wilt Chamberlain and Kyrie Irving. And then I forget if it was Scott Van Pelt or Dan Levy, or I forget even who was talking, but they said – obviously, Wilt Chamberlain and Kyrie won their games where LeBron is the only one to have lost his. And I'm like, hold on. First of all, you're leaving out a very big detail that when Kyrie won his, he also had a certain player by the name of LeBron James who also had a 41-point triple-double in that finals win. So I'm like, I feel like that's a little misleading there. But anyways, back to my take about the NBA Finals. I think too much conversation is being started on should LeBron have shot? Should he have passed? The blunders of the Lakers late in the game last night. Sorry, I had a little bit of a tongue twister right there. And I don't think enough credit is going to the Miami Heat. Game 5, you hear it all the time, the Heat culture, what it means. People have their different deciphers of what the Heat culture is. Game 5 was the perfect embodiment of what the Heat culture is. When the Heat went up 13 in the second quarter, they scrapped and they clawed and they hit shots when they needed to keep a marginal lead till the clock ran out. Jimmy Butler, obviously cannot say enough about him, had one of his best games of his career, a 35-point triple-double. Played in all but 48 seconds is the most amazing part. Hit clutch shots, clutch free throws, made a clutch block late. And when the Heat are right back in the series. They're 2 wins away from potentially winning an NBA championship. So I think not enough credit is going for how Miami – well, let me backtrack a little bit. Jimmy Butler's performance and his will to win, leaving it all out on the line. You see it when he's taking free throws late. He's literally bending over, just exhausted from how hard he's playing last night. And I think that motivated everyone else around him. You saw guys in the supporting cast like Duncan Robinson finally break out of his shooting slump and have a 20-point game. So to see it, I think what's getting lost is when you have a player like LeBron that is obviously so great and so draws so much media attention that we're losing focus on what the real story was last night, and that's just how much Miami was playing with their backs against the wall and not trying to lose.
Yep, and I agree. A lot of times in situations like that, of course, especially, when it's, a team of like the Lakers, what's considered the powerhouse franchise, when stuff like that happens, of course, that's going to be the talk of the town the next day. It's never going to be, how the other team was able to, manage to stay in the game and, win it. And, credit to Jimmy Butler in Miami. They've gone through a lot, especially losing Dragic. They lost Bam for 2 games or for 1 game. Or was it? No, it was 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
Losing Bam for 2 games and to still be in this series, all the credit in the world to them.
I feel like you had more. Or
no, that's it.
That's got it. So would you like to so are we done for the NBA Finals, and would you like to transition to college football?
I would love to transition to college football.
All right. Before we get talking about the slate of games, I feel like you want to talk about all right. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a word blunder this morning. So before we get into Saturday's big slate of games, I feel like there's a certain game you want to talk about that happened last night while most of us were watching the NBA Finals.
There is. I cannot wait. As you can see in the background, if you don't know, now you know. It's L's down.
I feel like certain somebody that we've had on this show was really big on Louisville having a good season this year. Who was that?
And he even went as far.
Or was that DJ, or was that both?
He went as far to say this: they were the second best team in the ACC behind Clemson.
Which we're going to get to later on in the show, but obviously hold your horses.
And they're now 1-3. Last night they went up 21-7 early on Georgia Tech. And correct me if my math is wrong, but Georgia Tech went on a 31-0 run.
No, I think your math's right.
A 31 Georgia Tech, okay? This isn't the old school, you got on me last week for watching the highlights of it. This isn't the old school Josh Nesbitt, Jonathan Dwyer, Georgia Tech, Paul White, read option offense, okay? This is
triple option.
Triple option. My bad.
There is a difference. Trust me.
But Georgia Tech, I mean, I'm sorry if I'm also correct. I think they've won maybe a grand total of maybe 3 ACC games within the last 2 years. And let me tell you, and I'm gonna, just to not kind of give some credit to Louisville, it's not even their offense that's the problem. Their offense puts up big yardage every game. The unfortunate part is their defense can't even stop a middle school football team.
I was a sports writer in Shelby County, and I think there's a couple teams out there that could score on Louisville's defense right now. I think there's a Little League team that's representing Shelby County that could score on Louisville. Shout out to the Shelby Storm. Shout out Jonathan Carroll.
I mean, I thought Big 12 defense was bad, and Louisville's defense is Big 12 defense bad.
I mean, I don't know.
They can't seem to tackle anybody. They don't really get to the quarterback that often. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. So what can this defense do? And if you even go back, this is now 3 years running that we've been saying. Actually, maybe longer than that. It's been ever since Lamar's senior year we've been saying, what can this defense do? Or not junior year, sorry. When he left, the year that he left. we've been saying, what can this defense do? And here we are, new coach, new system, still saying, what can this defense do? I understand that teams are trying to become offensive, minded, trying to play the Clemsons. They're just saying, we're not going to be able to stop Clemson, but, we'll be able to match them point for point. You still got to be able to play defense at the end of the day.
You still got to be able to make a stop here and there.
You got to be able to make stops at pivotal moments. And, I mean, if I'm a head coach playing Louisville, I would almost feel confident going for it on 4th and 20 on my own 5. Because I'd feel still confident that we're going to pick that up.
That's a pretty big statement there, bud.
They got more holes in their defense than Swiss cheese. So, yeah, I feel very confident that I would pick it up. I mean, just a couple numbers here. So, they allowed 233 passing yards a game. Okay, maybe in modern football that's not the greatest, but still a lot of passing yards. 156 rushing yards per game. Can't stop the run. You allow a grand total of 389 yards of offense per game. You're not going to be able to win football games giving up almost 400 yards per game. Well, not going to be able to win big football games giving up almost 400 yards a game. You allow 6.2 yards per play. So you're telling me that the teams that you play against are getting a first down every 2 plays.
Mm-hmm.
You've given up 7 penalties on the defensive side this year. That tells me you're undisciplined on the defensive side. And it shows when you play as well. 7 sacks total on the year, only 1 interception, 4 fumbles. So I don't know if their tackling issue is they're more worried about trying to get the fumble than they are the tackle. What? But to me, this defense is undisciplined. And I know it's not fair to compare them to Ohio State, but a couple of years ago, Ohio State had a huge problem tackling. And Urban put them and went an entire offseason saying all we're going to do is tackle. The next year, Ohio State missed only 3 tackles total on the year.
Wait, they only missed 3 the entire year?
3 total
okay,
tackles.
I'm sorry. I've never heard that stat, but that is insane. Like, that's very – I mean,
they were – if you go back and even watch, and the 3 – it was the national championship year, actually. The 3 that they missed, it was like somewhere between maybe off a little bit on my number, obviously. But it was in the single digits. Let's just put it that way.
I mean, that's still amazing. And if you go through the course of a season and you're only missing a single-digit total of tackles, that's a lot to be said.
And the early missed tackles came against the one loss they had that year to Virginia Tech. And from there on out, if you watched, if one person, everybody swarmed the ball. If you're watching Louisville, it's just a one person trying to go for the tackle, and then it's like they give up. They're undisciplined. I don't want to say they're not talented. They're Division I athletes, so obviously they're talented. But something has to be done because your offense obviously is not your issue. You've got to put a focus on your defense because if you're going to lose to Georgia Tech and give up 450 yards of total offense to Georgia Tech, then I don't know who exactly you can stop this year at all, even in the ACC.
Sticking with teams that need to work on their defensive side of the ball, we have a big slate of games in our Saturday college football, in which we have, if you're not following the Twitter page at Less is More Sports, we posted up a pick-em of who's going to win the big games here on Saturday, starting with, of course, being the Texas fan that I am, the Red River rivalry, which is on right now. Oklahoma currently leads Texas 3-0, and let's check the polls real quick. And so far, the fans are voting that Texas will win. Texas is actually getting 100% of the votes. But, however, it is not looking good right now for the Horns as the Sooners have a 3-0 lead and are moving the ball against that Texas defense like a hot butter knife on some burnt-ass toast. It's just – I don't even know if that's a saying. I have no words to just describe how pitiful this Texas defense has played. You read off some numbers. I'm going to read off some numbers for you. Comparing the two teams. Obviously, we know Texas and Oklahoma can score the ball. That's no issue. Spencer Rattler is a guy that you compare to Patrick Mahomes as far as arm talent-wise. On the season, he's got 10 touchdown passes to 4 interceptions and just hit a wide-open receiver for a touchdown as soon as I say that, to Denzel Mims Jr. So timing is ironic. On the Texas side of the ball, Sam Ehlinger's got 14 touchdowns through 3 games, which is a Texas record. Offense is usually not the problem. For Texas, they allow 248 yards of passing a game, 128 on the ground, for 377 total. Keep in mind, let's even backtrack a little bit more. Both teams are coming off very impressive performances against very weak opponents in week 1. Texas with a 59-3 win over UTEP, and Oklahoma with a 48-10 win over Missouri State. Those two games are about as – the fact that there's the season numbers for both the Horns and the Sooners on the defensive side of the ball isn't worse, is coming from those two games. You look at now we're going to fast forward to the first game that really signaled Texas's defensive blunders, which was their 63-56. If that doesn't tell you enough right there, I don't know, then you probably don't watch football. Win over Texas Tech. Obviously, they won the game, but they were trailing 15 minutes with 3 minutes left left to play. They allowed 441 yards of total offense, 325 in the air, and 5 touchdowns from quarterback Alan Bowman. Now fast forward to the game they lost. TCU outgained Texas 457-388. 2 crucial turnovers, a late fourth quarter interception from Sam Ehlinger, and a fumble on the 1-yard line. Yes, the 1-yard line to take the lead from Keontae Ingram. Oklahoma's not much better on the defensive side of the ball. Coming off their back-to-back losses, 25 points per game may not sound like a lot, but when you're one of the games you pitched a shutout, you got to think they're also 0-2 when they don't score 40 points. So they'll also allow 317 yards per game. Doesn't sound like a lot, but again, most of that's because of the win against Missouri State. Their loss against Kansas State, they allowed 400 yards of offense, and that really wasn't even the worst part. The worst part is the Sooner offense turned the ball over 4 times. Rattler had 3 interceptions, but you can say, it's still technically his first year as a starter, yada, yada, yada. When they come back and lose their second game in a row against Iowa State, where they're outgained 417 yards to 414, giving up 135 yards on the ground to the Cyclones. So, as you can expect, there's going to be a lot of offense today. Even though you look back at past meetings with Texas and Oklahoma, and Oklahoma usually steps their game up on the defensive side of the ball when they play Texas. Obviously, it's a rivalry game. All bets are off. But for what we've seen so far, we have no reason to believe that you're going to get a lot of stops in this game.
Big 12 defense. I don't expect any stops at all.
And what do we say on the show all the time? That it's a flag football conference?
It is.
I mean, they pretty much just play 7-on-7s. So, I mean.
7-on-7 might as well be two-hand touch.
Might as well. Maybe you and I should get out there and teach some of these kids how to do, like, tackling drills and everything. I feel like it couldn't be going any worse.
No, can't go worse. So, sure.
I mean, plus it doesn't help when your defense is struggling last week. I mean, going back to Texas's loss over TCU, Sam Ehlinger, preseason Heisman talk, obviously he's got the big numbers so far, but if you're going to, especially when your defense is playing this bad, you can't expect your star Heisman caliber quarterback to go 17-36 with a completion percentage of 42%. Doesn't really bode well. Yes, he had 4 touchdowns. That's wildly inefficient against a team that you should beat. I feel like you want to say something real quick.
Yeah, because I just like throwing that I told you so.
I'm sure you do.
I called that.
I know you did, and I hate you for it.
Gary Patterson has Tom Herman's number.
As of right now, he does, and it kills me to say it, but it's the doggone truth. But no, but obviously the Red River rivalry is not the only slate of games that we have today. It's very unfortunate that Spencer couldn't make it on the show today because a big game that we have coming on at 7:30 tonight, we have the number 1 Clemson Tigers hosting the number 7 Miami Hurricanes. Lucas, is the U back?
We'll find out tonight. And I'm not even just saying that as in like they have to win. They don't even have to win to figure this out. If they can keep this game close and they can keep the game close, and not get, completely blown out, I think you can make the argument that the U is back. Obviously, if they win the game, that's a obvious huge statement that the U is back. But I think they just got to keep it respectable. And by now, granted, keeping respectable nowadays for Clemson is just keeping it within 20. I think if you can keep it within a 1-2 score game, you can make an argument on the U is back.
Both teams are 3-0 right now. I have a lot that I like and a lot that I don't like about both teams. Clemson, what's not to like? They recruit well. They have my child. They do pretty much everything well, but the one concern that I do have is last week against Virginia, they kind of struggled with Virginia's mobile quarterback, Brennan Armstrong. Last week, he had a wildly inefficient game passing the ball, but scored 3 touchdowns through the air. He had 22 carries for 89 yards and was the only rusher for the Cavaliers to rush for over 3.6 yards a carry. And my question is, they had enough trouble, I guess, I don't even know if you want to call it trouble. It was still an 18-point victory. I mean, as much trouble as you can have in an 18-point victory. I mean, with Brennan Armstrong, are they going to have those same issues with an electrifying quarterback like D'Eriq King? I mean, I feel like that's a very valid question to ask.
Yeah, and it's also very valid that D'Eriq King plays well when the lights are bright. He does like the spotlight. He loves playing on national TV. So, I mean, it'll be interesting. We kind of said the same thing last year when we said Clemson and Ohio State. Clemson's never played a quarterback like Justin Fields. This is almost obviously King is not Justin Fields, but it's almost similar in terms of play. So it'll be interesting to see how Clemson can contain D'Eriq King. And, obviously Miami has a lot of weapons on the outside, kind of like what Spencer sent us, earlier this week. Clemson does struggle against really good tight ends at times. And, Miami happens to have a really good tight end. So this is definitely a fun game. This is definitely, something during 2020 COVID, something we really, really need a game like this. And when I say that, I mean, I don't want to see a blowout tonight. I really need a close top 10 down to the wire game.
And on the flip side for the Hurricanes, one thing that really is concerning to me when they play against Clemson is that they're allowing almost 150 yards on the ground, 146.7 to be exact, and they're averaging 4 yards a carry. When you're playing against the Clemson Tigers, and I'm watching, the pregame show talks, and you have Dabo Swinney and Trevor Lawrence both comparing star running back Travis Etienne to different star running backs that they've seen. Dabo's comparing him to Walter Payton. Trevor's comparing him to Alvin Kamara. I mean, when you have one of the best, if not the best, in my opinion, the best running back in college football, this 146 yards on the ground is concerning for the Canes. So, at the end of the day, Klucas, who you got tonight?
It's tough to bet against Trevor Lawrence.
That's what I like to hear.
Since Spencer's not here, I can actually admit this. I like Miami and how they play this year. It's tough. Like I said, I'm gonna play it safe because I don't like betting against Trevor Lawrence. So I'm gonna go Clemson, I'm going to say 34-28 Clemson.
I'm going to have to agree with the winner of the game. I'm going to have Clemson at 38 and Miami at 24. I don't think it's going to be a 20-point blowout.
So you lose your bet to Spencer. You're admitting that right now.
Oh, that's right. I forgot all about that. All right.
Oh.
I forgot all about the bet. Wait, do we even have any money on it?
I don't know if what the dollar amount was, but y'all did virtually shake on it last week.
Oh, that's right. I got to look on that. So, all right, anyways.
Yeah, the bet was, for those of you that don't know, is Clemson has to win by over 20. If Clemson wins by under 20, Spencer wins the bet, whatever it is that they bet. If they win by 20, it's a push.
All right, so I guess I gotta have the Tigers win by 20 tonight. So I mean, which I think they very well can. But here's what it's going to come down to. You already touched on my child. I already touched on Travis Etienne and Miami struggles defending the run. What it boils down to is Miami's making great strides and they're starting to get back. But as of right now, Clemson is still much a better team up front on both sides of the ball. Even on the defensive side of the ball, as young as the Tigers are, guys like Miles Murphy, Brian Brzee, they still play a very good impact. Miles Murphy is actually leading the team right now with 5 tackles for loss. So he's actually been better in the early season than Brian Brzee, who was the number 1 rated player in the class of 2020. So I like Clemson up front. I like Clemson at home for what it's worth in this COVID 2020 season. And Utah mentioned how De'Aaron King plays well in the bright lights. So do the Tigers, especially at home in a night game like this. So, I need my money. I'm going to need my money after the game, Spencer.
So, with all that being said, I want to touch on something that's close to me, and hopefully that Kentucky is able to pick up their first win tonight against the crazy Mike Leach and Mississippi State.
So will KJ Costello play like he did last week, or will he put up 600 yards like he did in week 1? That's what I want to hear.
He may very well put up 600 yards on our defense. I talk about Louisville's defense, but Kentucky's is not that much better.
It's funny,
Actually, well, here's the thing. Kentucky does have one thing that they do well, at least on defense. That's what separates them from the defensive side of the ball on Louisville. They can stop the run, and they can get to the quarterback. The problem is our DBs. I don't know if it's just they're too small, don't weigh enough, not fast enough. I got a bunch of burnt pieces of toast playing cornerback for me. It's tough. I knew going into the game last week with Ole Miss, I think I pretty much said this is going to be a shootout between the two because Ole Miss struggles on defense, Kentucky struggles on defense. I never in my years of being a Kentucky Wildcat fan would have said that kicking was going to be the thing that cost us the game. If I could say one thing about Kentucky football that had been A+ throughout all my years, it had been kicking and punting.
Well, they've had to do a lot of it.
Yeah. So that was extremely tough last week. But with that being said, I was very, 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 very happy to finally see Terry Wilson break out of his shell last week. He played with confidence from start to finish. He got red hot throwing the ball in the second half. And I loved watching him. It made me feel a little bit more confident in my quarterback going on for the year. Now,
question, how many times did he throw the ball?
I don't remember the exact number from last week. That would have to be something I'd look up.
Was it around 30?
It very well. If I remember correctly, it probably was around 30.
Because if I remember correctly, a few episodes back, you're talking about how Terry Wilson is not the kind of quarterback you want throwing 37 times a day. Now, we don't know if it was exactly 37 or more.
Okay.
But
Well, let me touch on that. The difference between last week and throwing 30 times a game versus what he was doing against Auburn was him throwing 37 times against Auburn were downfield all the way throws. That's not what I want him doing 37 times a game.
Mm-hmm.
But throwing the short routes, if he could do that 30 times, the quick little 6-7 yard passes to gain yards, that I don't mind him doing because he can do that. Now, there were a couple throws downfield that he had last week that were really good. But when I'm talking about over the course of a game 37 times, I do not want him throwing the ball like Patrick Mahomes downfield 37 times a game.
Yeah, Terry Wilson and Patrick Mahomes are definitely two different style of quarterbacks, and I mean, not to really compare one to the other. I feel like that's just blasphemous right now.
I'm not comparing them. I'm saying I don't. Patrick Mahomes' all throws are downfield, is what I'm saying for the most part.
Why are you so defensive? I never said you were comparing them. You were so defensive. I was saying so that nobody thought I was comparing them. I was correcting myself. Something Spencer should do more of sometimes.
He'll never do that. Anyways,
his motto is never apologize.
You know what? I believe in that motto to an extent.
I would say, I would think he takes it to an extreme. But, we love you, Spencer. Hope all is well.
Yeah. But, if he's going to be making the short throws, and so that's what I'm more okay with. It's more of the type of throws he's making 37 times a game versus how many times he's throwing.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, I'm hoping Kentucky. I'm sorry. Why am I drawing a blank? Who was it that Mississippi State played last week?
Who did they play last week?
That they lost to?
Ooh, Spencer Rattler just threw an interception. Ooh, look at Demarion Overshone, former safety turned to linebacker. I am happy right now.
Now I have to look this up because this is going to really bother me.
What a way to end the first quarter.
Mississippi State, Arkansas. That's right. I don't know why I was drawing a blank on that. What Arkansas did very well with KJ Costello last week is they were able to put pressure on him. They put pressure on him and they forced him really to make throws that he didn't want to throw. And if you even go back to Washington State, that's been the story for Mike Leach offenses. If you could put pressure on their quarterback and make them throw the throws they don't want to throw, then you're going to be successful. But if you let them sit back in the pocket and just air it out, with no pressure, they're probably going to beat you. They're going to put up a lot of points. So, and like I said, the one thing that Kentucky does well is they put pressure on the quarterback. So I'm hoping today they can put enough pressure on KJ to make him uncomfortable, and Kentucky can hopefully pull out with a win today.
I watched a little bit of how Kentucky played against Ole Miss, and I gotta roll with and like you said, I mean, they don't have an issue defending the run. Problem with that is you don't have to worry about the run against a Mike Leach coach team. I mean, like we kind of mentioned earlier, or like I said earlier, is Kentucky going to be able to slow down that air raid offense, or is KJ Costello going to throw for about 600 yards a game? I think it's going to be closer to the second option. I think KJ is going to have a big game. Like you said, you have a bunch of burnt toast at DB, so I'm liking for the Bulldogs to pull out a big win, put up a lot of yards through the air. Sorry. Not sorry. Look, why are you my co-host? Why are you
because
my co-host?
I do stuff like this.
That's true, probably. I hate you for it, but I love you for it at the same time. I have no idea. But, honestly, there's a lot of good games on today, though. I mean, that's the thing.
We can talk about this Florida A&M game right now that's been real chippy.
Oh, is it getting chippy? Oh, I'm going to turn over to it right now.
I mean, I've seen a lot of Texas A&M just scored to tie it at 14.
Ooh, this is going to be a good game. If only the Red River.
I mean, a lot of roughing the passer penalties, a lot of unnecessary roughness after the play penalties. Dude, this is chippy. I like it because this is.
Man.
This
just
is
such an
this has that old school Jimbo Fisher at Florida State versus Florida feel to it. That's what it has.
Oh man, that's going to be a sight to see. Plus, you have two aired out quarterbacks in Kyle Trask and Kellen Mond. I mean, that's going to be a sight to see for people that just love offense. Of course, I mean,
Yep.
okay, that brings me to another point though. Another question I have for you though is how good do you think Kyle Trask is?
I mean, I think he's really good. Are you talking about from an NFL level or a college level?
Both. Let's go both. Well, how good do you think he is as a college level, and how good do you think he is from an NFL?
College level, he's an extremely good quarterback. You know, it's no, we all know Kyle Trask is history. For those of you that don't know, just because they brought it up just a minute ago,
We all know, but for those who don't,
Well, I'm saying because I just brought it up. Kyle Trask was De'Aaron King's backup quarterback all throughout high school.
Yeah, he didn't even start a game at varsity, which I think is just phenomenal, to be something to be said for. Oh my
For him to
gosh,
be starting
something
at
about playing against
Florida
Texas, man. That OU defense brings it. I give it to him. Another sack on Ellinger, but continue.
To not even start a game in high school and you're still a Division I quarterback at a very high caliber school like Florida. He's definitely got the work ethic. He's definitely obviously good enough. For the NFL level, I think it's just continuing to develop. Get better every day. Don't give up, obviously. He's kind of got that Joe Burrow in him where he's getting better every single game. And, for all we know, by the end of this year, he could maybe end up like Joe Burrow and end up as a top quarterback to go in the draft. So, I mean, none of us ever thought Joe Burrow would be where he's at today 2 years ago.
No, we didn't. I mean, and that's a fair point. When I watch Kyle Trask right now, I'm still have yet to see like the poise and the knack for extending plays and making the clutch plays that Burrow made throughout his last season at LSU. So from what I'm seeing from Kyle Trask right now, I'm seeing that prototypical pocket passer that would have probably gotten you selected first overall in the early 2000s. I'm seeing a guy similar to Matt Stafford or the Matt Ryans of the world that they're going to put up numbers, but unless you got a good team around you in the NFL, it's not really going to translate to wins. But there's still something to be said for that, because as from the number standpoint, as I just said earlier, Stafford and Ryan, they put up great numbers every year, and if you have a solid team around them, you're going to win games with those type of quarterbacks. So from a college standpoint, I think I made the statement I believe last week that Kyle Trask is the best passer to play at quarterback since Rex Grossman. I actually think he is a better passer than Rex Grossman. I don't know who all would agree with that, who all would disagree. I really don't care because that is my opinion, and you can suck it. Whoever doesn't agree.
He's the best quarterback Florida's had since Tim Tebow.
I think he's a better pure quarterback than Tebow.
I mean, obviously quarterback, like in terms of throwing, but
yeah,
if we're talking all-around player, it's obviously Tebow.
Yeah, Tebow just accomplished way too much that you can't leave him out. So Texas is actually on the board. Just a little side note: Cameron Dicker just kicked a field goal. Cameron Dicker usually plays pretty well in these games.
Speaking of Texas, Mac Brown in North Carolina is up 21-7 on Virginia Tech right now.
That was another game I wanted to talk to you about. Which let's check the Twitter polls again of who's going to win that, who the fans have voted for to win that game. And surprisingly enough.
Wow. They just really did that.
I don't know what you're referring to, but the fans voted Virginia Tech to win, or still with a little bit of time left, Virginia Tech is voted for by the fans to win 66% versus 33% for North Carolina. So not looking good for the fans on the voting end, but so what did you just see?
Now, obviously, I know Mac Brown used to coach at North Carolina. They really put on ESPN, like they made it seem like it was for consecutive seasons. They just put Mac Brown, it said 12th season as North Carolina head coach. And I was just like, really? Like, I understand he coached there before, but come on now. Let's break that up a little bit. This is his second year at North Carolina.
And his second year in his second stint in North Carolina.
Yeah. Like,
which, I mean, I'm
they
not
made
going
it
to lie.
seem like he's been there for 12 straight years. Like,
no, man, let's not forget that he was retired for a little bit and was a college football analyst for a little bit after pretty much getting kicked out of Austin.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, I'm going to be completely honest with how some of our defense has played the last couple of years. I wouldn't mind having Mac Brown back in Austin. I think Texas fans are kind of regretting pushing him out the way they did.
I would, especially after seeing what he's doing in North Carolina now.
Yeah. I mean, he's getting the recruits. North Carolina's got a bunch of playmakers on the outside, some really good receivers, a really good running back, and, of course, Sam Howell's kind of having a similar start last year to what Trevor Lawrence did, as in, he's still winning games. He's still making the plays when he needs to, but the numbers just aren't as explosive as you expected.
Yep. And that's why I'm not, like I did last year with Trevor Lawrence, that's why I'm not beating up Sam Howell this year.
Yeah, you beat up Trevor enough times last year, and then that's how the whole thing got started between us of, what is he, your freaking child? And obviously I took ownership of that, and yes, he is my son. Happy birthday, by the way, son.
God. Anyways, so is that all we got for college football today?
No, that is not all we have.
We got more?
Yeah, we have more. There's a lot of games today. I mean, so, all right, the last game. Very intriguing matchup. Tennessee versus Georgia at 3:30. Tennessee has won 8 consecutive games and the only SEC team with no turnovers so far.
Yep.
So,
I'm going to make this short and sweet for you real quick. Make this short and sweet because you'll never see me cheer for Tennessee nor pick Tennessee to win a football game. So go Dogs.
Wow. That is, yeah, I mean, not like you're a Kentucky fan or anything, so that totally blindsided me. I never saw that coming. But so as of right now in the Twitter poll, Georgia is expected to win 60% to Tennessee's 40%. Here's my thing too, is Tennessee's got a very good offensive line. They have a very good running game, but the key to this game to me has been the play of Stetson Bennett, I'm so glad that I got the quarterback's name right after that complete blunder I had last week. I thought there was a quarterback on the roster by the name of Swain. I don't even know where I got it. But you know what? Stetson Bennett has really elevated this Dogs offense to another level so far in the early season. And I don't think Tennessee has enough to counter that offensively. So I like Georgia to win. Also, I looked kind of stupid when I picked Auburn to win last week. So I'm not going to make the same mistake again. But Vols fans, I think you all have a lot to be happy about. So
I don't.
Well, you have some bias in this statement, I feel like. So
I do not like Tennessee.
Obviously, I kind of knew that. That's kind of a given. That's
kind of like the only thing good that ever came out of Tennessee is Peyton Manning.
That is also a true statement. There we go, another turnover. I mean, that'd be like me cheering for Oklahoma or North Carolina. You're just not going to see it.
Fair enough.
And that is Spencer Rattler's second turnover of the day, and we're back in the red zone. But can Texas actually cross the goal line this go-around? That is the million-dollar question. So you think we can do it, Klucas?
Kyle Pitts is so good.
Oh, man, he's amazing. I mean, I could probably talk about Kyle Pitts all day. First of all, before any weirdos get anything, I don't want the weirdos that are going to watch the show to take this wrong, but I absolutely love a good tight end. and I'm talking about from a football standpoint, obviously. But there's going to be some weirdo who watches the show is like, oh, yeah, I'm sure you do like a good tight end. I like this Les guy. I agree with him on that one. But, no, you got to think about it, though. When you have a good tight end, you have one that's too fast for linebackers to cover. You have one that's too big to body with your DBs. And you have an extra blocker. You think of just how much that adds to an offense. I mean, hell, you can look at some of Tom Brady's most successful seasons, he had a good tight end. You look at the Ravens now. Most of Lamar's most successful games is when he targets Mark Andrews. You look at the impact that Travis Kelce and George Kittle are having for the Chiefs and the 49ers, respectively. Hey, outside of the quarterback position, the tight end can be the most impactful position on offense from a weapon standpoint. I know you love your receivers. I know you love your receivers, but
well, it's not even that. Outside of your quarterback, your left tackle is your most important position on your.
I feel like
offense.
You just quoted The Blind Side.
Hey, I'm just saying, somebody's got to watch your Blind Side.
That is a great movie, though. You know, how is Michael Orr doing nowadays? I haven't checked in on him in a while.
Well, I took a break from my Michael Orr check-ins, so.
I mean, I did too. I mean, it was starting to get pretty hectic for a while. He was bouncing around a little bit, and I was just like, I got my own life. I got to keep track of. I can't just keep track of his too.
Yeah. So, all right. So.
I think we are done with college football now, by the way.
That college football. All righty.
So are we going to get to your NFL picks? Because I know you've been waiting all week for them.
This is my favorite segment of the week. I love this segment.
And for those, a little spoiler for those listening, it's because he gets it all to himself.
Yeah, I mean.
And Sam Ellinger to score a touchdown with the flex on him. I like it.
Especially after last week. I had a really good week last week. Last week, obviously, without the Steelers and Titans playing, I went 12-3 last week. Only 3 games I missed on Eagles and 49ers. I missed on the Cardinals and Panthers, and I missed on the Cowboys and Browns. So those are my 3 misses. 12-3.
Can I pull a you real quick and say that I told you so when it comes to Cowboys and Browns?
Sure.
Well, I told you so.
It's fine. How's your fantasy team doing without Nick Chubb?
Oh, we're on 2 straight wins.
It's fine. You play me this week, big boy.
Yeah, I know. I'm surprised you haven't actually talked more trash this week.
Oh, well, I don't want to do that quite yet, considering Scotty Miller's already put me off on a bad start, put me at 0 points for the week. So.
Wait, did you already had somebody play already?
Yeah, it's Scotty Miller play.
Well, I got that, but I was surprised. I haven't even checked the score yet between us. So
yeah, because if you go and look, it still says 0-0. So it's like nobody played.
Man, but the difference is you had somebody actually suit up. I didn't. I haven't. So.
Thank God Jimmy Garoppolo suiting up this week.
Thank God the Titans are playing because Derrick Henry's back.
So, obviously, that puts me 12-3 last week. Puts me at 42-20-1 overall in the year. So I'm back on the winning streak, and we are going to look to keep that up this week. Obviously, starting 0-1 on the week. I picked the Bucs over the Bears. Tom Brady's daddy beat him on Thursday Night Football.
It makes me so happy that you called that Nick Foles is Tom Brady's daddy. Our baseball analyst DJ has been just totally salty about it all week. I've been joking about it. I've been trolling, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, calm down. He's only done it, this many times." It's like they were both in, one was in the Super Bowl, so that's the last time That's really the last.
Well, I guess if we're gonna go that far, Eli Manning is really Tom Brady's daddy. He did it both times in the Super Bowl.
He did, yeah. So I think. So I feel like Nick Foles is like an illegitimate stepdad at this point.
Yeah, he's the stepfather.
There we go. So he
had to step in when Eli couldn't be there.
Yeah. So if we're having like a little family trip, you got Eli as the dad, Nick Foles as the stepdad, and then they're both at Disney World with Tom Brady in the stroller.
Yep.
So this is how we're going. So you're 0-1. Let's continue, though.
All right, so first Sunday game, Carolina and Atlanta. Carolina's riding hot, actually, the last 2 weeks without Christian McCaffrey.
Who'd have thunk it?
Teddy Bridgewater has found his stride in Carolina. And I'm going to ride that hot streak this week and go based off Atlanta is god-awful on defense, god-awful at keeping leads. I'm going to go Carolina 34, Atlanta 23.
As much as I want to pick Carolina to lose, just because I'm tired of seeing all these, fans on Twitter and social media saying that, actually believing for a second that the Panthers might actually be better without Christian McCaffrey. I can never, ever, ever since the Super Bowl loss, I can never really be confident in picking Atlanta to win each week. Like you said, their defense is terrible, is probably the worst it's been under Dan Quinn, and that's saying something. And they're just the most – and then blowing leads is just like the most Atlanta team ever. Oh, my gosh, Spencer Rattler just got subbed out. I don't know what's going on. Oh. Who's it? Okay. I'll give more up-to-date details as we get them, but no, let's continue with your segment. Oh, yeah. He's getting his right arm worked on. That makes sense.
That's the moneymaker.
Yeah.
All right, so anyways, Carolina, Atlanta.
Yeah, I just really wanted to fill in that Spencer Rattler was subbed out. I feel like that's a pretty big story. But, yeah, so I got Carolina. I'm with you that I got Carolina.
Alrighty. Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, make their trip to Baltimore, take on the Ravens. Ravens had a bounce-back week last week after that embarrassing performance on Monday Night Football. And I don't really see how Baltimore could lose this one either. I got the Ravens winning this one 30-17 over Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati just has so much to work on, and I feel like Baltimore has one of the more complete rosters in the NFL. I think it's going to be a similar result from Baltimore as that we saw last week with the football team, the team without a name. So I think Burrow's going to get his numbers. He's played extremely well so far in his rookie season, but overall, I like Baltimore to win the game.
All righty. Question of the week. Does Deshaun Watson without Bill O'Brien finally get his first win as they play Jacksonville in Houston?
I thought you were going to say something. But
no, I want to hear what you have to say. It's the question of the week, so let's hear your answer first.
It's been an eventful week in Houston. Bill O'Brien was just recently fired. Something that should have happened a long time ago. When you trade away the best receiver in the NFL for an injury-prone running back, when you have a franchise quarterback in Deshaun Watson and you don't even attempt to get him an offensive line to protect him, especially when you're in the same conference as a team up north who it took them too long to put an offensive line around their franchise quarterback, and he retired early. Wonder who I could be talking about, Klucas. Anyways, when you're in the same conference, you should know better than this, but you don't. You deserve to get fired. So I'm going to go with the fact that Deshaun Watson still doesn't have an offensive line. I'm going to go with that he doesn't get his first win. And that the Jacksonville Jaguars pull this. Well, I don't even know if you would call this an upset, but I think they win. I think that they can do anything well. It's rush the passer.
For those of you that have me on Facebook, I said earlier this week, if I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm demanding a trade. You got to get the hell out of Houston. And if I'm Houston, you as a franchise, I get that you want to keep your guy when you get him, but you cannot ruin a player's career. And I think the longer Deshaun Watson is in Houston, the worse that he's going to get because he's going to, either be injured or constantly getting hit, whatever the case may be. And you're never going to develop. And you're never going to develop in Houston. And with that, I have the Jaguars winning as well. I have Jacksonville winning this one 30-23. Minshew Mania gets a win in Houston.
The more and more I watch Minshew and the more I listen to him, the more and more I'm kind of liking the guy. He's kind of a likable quarterback, in my opinion. He's kind of like a real-life Uncle Rico playing in the NFL. If Uncle Rico had gotten gotten his shot to throw the ball over the mountains in the NFL, this is what he would be doing. He would be Gardner Minshew. And plus, I was listening to a couple other podcasts this week and kind of listening to his story, 4 schools in 4 years in college before finally getting an opportunity with Mike Leach and Washington State. And he really put the world on notice. So, enough of that, though. Let's continue.
Alrighty. Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City defend their home field this week against the Las Vegas Raiders. I've got Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs winning this one pretty convincingly, 35-20.
When on this show have I ever gone against Mahomes?
Never.
But that stays the same this week. Yeah, I'm the same way.
You almost had me there for a second. Arizona and the Arizona Cardinals. Sorry, I had a word blunder there. The Arizona Cardinals on the road against the Jets, and I think the Cardinals, after 2 bad weeks back to back, I think against the Jets, they're able to bounce back, get a win, put up some numbers. Cardinals win 32-14 over the Jets.
We are agreeing way too much, and I'm going to continue that trend because as bad as the Cardinals have played the last couple weeks, the Jets are the worst team in the NFL by far. And now Joe Flacco is starting at quarterback for the Jets. So if Sam Darnold couldn't get it done, what makes us think Joe Flacco can? And yes, there's a reason that I'm pronouncing his name the way I am. He had a great postseason run in 2013. That's been it. He's not good. I had these were my expectations for him, after that run to go on to continue to have a great career. This is where he's played. It's so low that it doesn't even fit my screen.
Fair statement. So let's see if we can continue this trend of you agreeing with me. The Battle of Pennsylvania. The Eagles are on the road in the same state in Pittsburgh. I've got the Steelers coming out with this one 21-16.
I hate how much I agree with you. It's the truth, though. The Eagles they've been a mess. I don't know if it's still the injuries that are plaguing them, but when you go against the best defense in the NFL, it's not a recipe for success. So
I didn't know they were playing Indianapolis this weekend.
Oh, touche. Oh, well put. Yes. Okay. My preseason best defense in the NFL. How about that?
There you go. All righty. This game was originally scheduled for Sunday at 1, moved to Tuesday, obviously due to COVID reasons. Buffalo against the Titans. And I've got the Bills winning 30-20 because screw the Titans for not following protocol.
Another top 5 defense against a one-dimensional offense. Like the Bills. You also have your quarterback, Josh Allen, playing at a MVP caliber level. I look for that to continue. Now, I think the Titans are the best defense that he has played during this stretch, if I'm not mistaken.
Even over the Rams?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I don't know where the surprise comes for that, but Tennessee has a very good defense.
They do. I'm not saying that, but I would say LA maybe has a better defense than the Titans slightly.
I would disagree with that, but no, I think this is the best defense that Josh Allen has played, but I look for him to continue to play at a high level. So I'm continuing the trend of agreeing with you, unfortunately, and I like the Bills in this one. That's
all right. Speaking of the Rams, the Rams are on the road this week against the team that has no name, the football team, who are being led by Kyle Allen now.
You literally ran right into the freaking blocker. You freaking idiot. And now Oklahoma has the ball and within the 10-yard line. Look, I can't
Focus.
I am focused, and I can't ever pick a team with no name to beat the Rams. So I'm continuing the trend of agreeing with you. And yeah, I'm gonna literally loathe in that just moment that I just witnessed. So
Well,
yeah.
considering you said you're going to agree the trend to agree with me, and I never even made my pick quite yet. So what if I just hit you with that not so fast, my friend?
But you're not.
But I'm not.
Exactly.
The Rams win this one 30-16. And let's talk about this for a second. I want to stop right here. Since you tagged me in it earlier this week, let's talk about Dwayne Haskins getting benched.
Oh, no, you got plenty to say about this.
3 head coaches in 13 games Dwayne Haskins has had. No real offensive line. Trent Williams didn't play at all last year for the most part. No offensive line. None of the 3 head coaches he's had has really truly believed in him. Only offensive weapon he really has is Terry McLaurin, another Buckeye. No confidence from the team, from the coaches, and even from the upfront organization, the upper management that drafted him to begin with. I don't understand. I don't get how you expect a quarterback to succeed under these circumstances. Haskins, like Deshaun Watson in Houston, needs to get the hell out of Washington. Go play for a team that actually has a name.
That's their first step right there. Not to mention it doesn't help, obviously, being a young quarterback and you bring in a defensive-minded coach. Especially with the trend the NFL is going towards this year. I mean, not this year, this era of wanting your young franchise quarterback to be surrounded by offensive-minded coaches. The hire of Ron Rivera, who I think is a very good coach, don't get me wrong, but when you bring in Ron Rivera for a defensive-minded coach for a young quarterback, like you said, has played now 13 games, it's just not a good recipe in my opinion. So I'm not as quick to pull the trigger on quarterbacks getting out of a situation, but with Deshaun, I think that's obviously true. And Dwayne, I'm not really one to disagree right now. Or I could throw this one on you, and if I really want to stir some shit up with you, and that's, is there something to it that Ohio State just doesn't produce good NFL quarterbacks?
In the past, I would have told you yes, but we all know Dwayne Haskins is as talented as, I don't want to say any quarterback in the NFL, obviously, but Dwayne Haskins is definitely just as talented as most of the quarterbacks in the NFL.
So is Ryan Leaf. So is Jamarcus Russell.
I'm talking about on an NFL level. Dwayne Haskins has given us proof at times. Now, granted, he hasn't played consistently because of this lack of trust, lack of offensive line, lack of weapons. But he has shown us at times that if he does have not all of these things fully, because obviously it's a perfect scenario, but if you give him time, if you give him some weapons, he can produce. And I think he just needs a head coach that believes in him, a somewhat decently good offensive line, and maybe one more weapon next to a Terry McLaurin. Dwayne Haskins is definitely a average to above average starting quarterback in the NFL.
I still think it's funny that we're talking about from a talent perspective. I mean, all the quarterbacks we could say are bust, had the talent there. So, and they also had good games throughout their career, just not enough of them to keep them with a job. And Oklahoma just scored because Texas can't play defense. But let's continue with your picks, Klucas. Let's get my mind off that.
All righty. Well, moving on, 4:05 slated games. The Miami Dolphins are in San Francisco. South Beach goes to the Bay Area. Dolphins and 49ers. I've got the Niners winning this one. Jimmy G's back. Maybe, hopefully, after this game, we get to see Tua. I got the 49ers winning 26-17.
How many games have we called now?
This will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is game number 9.
I am 9-0 with agreeing with you today. This has to be a new record. I mean, it's Jimmy, like you said, Jimmy G's back. George Kittle's looking up to form. The Dolphins are terrible. I think we need to start seeing Tua soon, too, as well. So I like the 49ers. What'd you say, 27-16?
26-17.
26-17. I had the last two numbers mixed up. I mean, yeah, I like the score. I like the result. I mean, I like it all. So no issue.
All right, well, let's go 10 for 10 on you agreeing with me because I already know where you're going with this. The Colts are on the road against the Browns. I got the Colts winning this one. Best defense in the NFL is able to contain the newly formed Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb out, Kareem Hunt-led offense. I got the Colts winning this one 32-17.
Being said that the Colts have the best defense in the NFL playing right now, what is it, 8 turnovers in the last 3 games now?
Yes, sir.
And I think the most they have allowed is 11 points in the last 3 games. 11, 14.
Yep, to Chicago.
11. And Minnesota had 11 as well.
Yep.
So the most they've allowed is 11 points in the last 3 games. Colts are playing as good a defense as anybody, not to mention the style of play that the Browns are running right now. Well, even when Nick Chubb is healthy, is a very similar style to how the Colts want to play. So it's not only are you getting a team that is playing as good a defense as anybody in the NFL, you're putting that defense against an offense that is a style of offense that they're used to going up against in practice every day. Now you have one of your best weapons hurt, it's only going to make it even easier. So I like the Colts in this matchup. So nothing else. I don't need to say anything else.
All righty. I got a feeling that maybe this is the game that we don't agree on, but let's see. This game moved to Monday night due to COVID reasons. Broncos and the Patriots. More than likely 2 backup quarterbacks playing against each other. 2 third-string quarterbacks playing against each other at that. I got the Patriots winning this one slightly. 24-23, Patriots win.
You actually answered my first question. If it was going to be Drew Lock or Brett Rypien playing for the Broncos. No, we don't disagree on this one. I think the Patriots are a more well-coached team and a better suited to play when their backup's in. So I like the Patriots in this one.
All righty. Dallas back at home, taking on the Giants. I got the Cowboys. 30-17. I think they get the bounce. They get the win that they desperately need.
Oh my gosh, they desperately need a win. They desperately – that defense is just atrocious, but the Giants just have nothing around them. Saquon went down. Daniel Jones is in a very similar situation to right now is actually in my opinion, a worse situation than what Dwayne Haskins is in. So it's I like the Cowboys to get a much needed win.
I got a feeling we're just going to agree on all of these for these next 2 games.
This is just so
Sunday night football. Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings are in Seattle against the MVP frontrunner Russell Wilson and the Seahawks.
Oh, you waiting
I think
for me?
I know. Yeah, let's see where you're going with this one.
There are 2 current quarterbacks that I just do not bet against, and that is Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was my MVP choice, and I look for him to just light them up on the defensive side of the ball. So
I'm going Seahawks as well. I got the Seahawks winning this one 37-28. Although I would not be shocked if Minnesota makes this a closer game than what I predicted because of Seattle's defense. No Jamal Adams this week. Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen could have big games.
I think that's definitely fair. I think there's still some holes in that Seattle secondary, especially when you have Jamal, especially when it starts with the pass rush. when you don't have a pass rush and you're forcing your best DB to come up and pretty much play as an outside rusher rather than dropping back into coverage, I think that creates holes in the secondary. So I think it's a very, very likely chance that you're going to get a big game from Justin Jefferson and or Adam Thielen. So it very could be a close game, but at the end of the day, game on the line, you got Russell and Kirk. Come on, man. I mean, I don't need to say anything else.
And then Monday Night Football. Well, there's two games, but we've already gone over the one. Monday Night Football. The Chargers are in New Orleans against the Saints. And before we even predict this game, another little I told you so on Justin Herbert.
It's still too early, but he does look great. He does look really good.
But even with that being said, I got the Saints winning this one. Close game, 30-26.
I have to agree. I think the Saints are just too talented on both sides of the ball. So, I mean, did we really just agree with every single pick?
14 for 14 this week.
That is amazing. I don't know if we'll ever – I think we should actually cherish this moment because even though for the fans watching it's going to be so boring to just see two guys agree with everything, I think you and I just need to cherish this moment because this will never, ever happen again.
No, probably not.
And you know what would be crazy is if Spencer was on the show and he agreed with us.
He agreed.
Oh, my gosh.
Spencer would have, like, after about the Colts one where we went 10 for 10, he probably would have just picked the Broncos just to be the ad. He would have picked the Broncos over the Patriots just to be the odd man out or something. He would have done something.
Like, but that's the thing. I don't even feel right just picking against my beliefs just to be the odd man out. Like, not with those choices, but it is what it is. So
those are the NFL picks. Obviously, Green Bay and Detroit are on byes this week. So no Aaron Rodgers this week.
Well, that's fine.
Hopefully they can use this week to get Adam Lazard and Devontae Adams healthy.
Even though he's played very well without them, which is not surprising, but hell of impressive though.
It is. North Carolina scored again. What in the heck was that?
What is the score in the North Carolina-Virginia Tech game?
28-14.
28-14. Very nice.
And Florida
tied it up.
Florida and A&M just went into the half. 21-17. Florida is up.
You say 21-17?
Yep.
Let's talk. Let's keep it in the trend going into the current state of sports right now. What to make of this MLB postseason? Because I'm watching, as I'm waiting for the Heat game to come on, I'm kind of watching a little bit of the U of L game last night and just completely watching a bunch of guys who don't know how to try to tackle these Yellow Jackets. And of course, I'm looking over, and I see the Rays just knock off the Yankees, and it's. Did you see this coming? Or
I was just praying it was coming.
I'll say hitting a go-ahead home run on Garrett Cole, no less. I mean, that's just phenomenal, especially as well as Garrett Cole was pitched in the last two postseasons. So, I mean, the Rays got my respect after that game.
Yeah, let's go Tampa because I hate the Astros.
So why do you hate the Astros? I know the answer, but I want you to say it on the podcast.
I almost want them to win the AL just so they have to, and I hope the Dodgers win the NL just so they have to play the Dodgers.
And that brings me to my NL matchup, the Dodgers and the Braves. I was reading a couple of things on the score, and the article I was reading just happened to talked about how unstoppable the Dodgers look right now. The Dodgers have a great team every year. I don't see where they're any more unstoppable than they are in the past. I mean, obviously they have more firepower in the batting lineup with the addition of Mookie Betts. They made the big trade. They got the recognition. Clayton Kershaw looks to be pitching well in the postseason, which is an added bonus. But I'm not one to sleep on the Braves. I think they have a very good pitching staff in their own right, and I think they've got some studs in the hitting lineup as well. D. Arnold's playing well. Dansby Swanson. We know what you're going to get out of Freddie Freeman and Ronald Acuna. But the Braves were my pick to come out of the NL. The Yankees were mine to come out of the AL. So we'll see. That's obviously changing. So.
At this point, I'm all for seeing Dodgers, Astros, and obviously it's not going to happen. But in a perfect world, I would just love to see Clayton Kershaw say, "I'm pitching Game 1 and Game 2 and pitching back-to-back no hitters against the Astros."
Yeah, that's yeah. Don't count your blessings on that one.
I hope the Rays sweep Houston. That's what I'm just hoping for at this point.
What's funny though is I ran a poll if anybody could. I was asking if anybody could stop the Yankees in the AL, and actually Derek Brightwell, the current sports writer at the Sentinel News, my replacement, actually tweeted at me and said, "I think the Rays can do it as good as anybody," and I kind of did in the fifth game. Held them to 1 run, which was, anytime you hold that Yankees lineup to 1 run, you just got to pat yourself on the back. That's just tough to do with that. I don't know what you're patting yourself on the back for. Not like you did anything about it. So
let's go Tampa.
I guess I don't know. So are you pulling for the Rays the rest of the way, or?
Rays will start Blake Snell in Game 1 versus Houston.
Might be a good start. I will say the Astros are starting to look like World Series form, and what I would not be surprised to see is the Astros getting hot at the right time, just to say, "Hey, look, we didn't need to cheat to win." So they're going to go on a run and win the World Series. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen either.
I don't want it to happen.
I know you don't, because you obviously hate the Astros. You've made that very clear.
Yep.
I wonder who hates the Astros more, you or DJ?
It's probably even.
Or Cavante?
Definitely more me or DJ.
I don't know about that, because Cavante is a Dodgers fan.
Yeah, but me and DJ, not saying that Cavante doesn't. Me and DJ have legitimate, and obviously not saying that you all don't either, but anybody doesn't. We have legitimate respect for the game of baseball, and there are certain things you just don't do. And Houston did one of those certain things you just don't do.
And a question that I can't get a straight answer out of DJ, but why is it so much more frowned upon with the Astros than what the Patriots did with Spygate? To me, it's the same principle.
Oh, it is 100%. You're not going to get that answer out of DJ because DJ's a Patriots fan.
Well, yeah, he won't admit it, but yeah, so
that's why you're not going to get that out of him.
Well, I knew that. I'm just calling DJ out on the podcast, making it official. That's the thing. I already know a lot of these answers. I just want to make it official on the podcast.
So, screw the Astros. I'm glad the Yankees lost. And that's it. That's all I got.
What a catch by catch by Charleston Rambo. Wow, that was I'm not I hate Oklahoma, but that was a hell of a catch.
Spencer Rattler back in?
No.
Who's playing quarterback right now?
His name is, hold on, I'm going to have to look it up again, because it's not a big name, so I'll look it up real quick before we end the show today. Tanner Mordecai. I still can't believe that Rambo just made that catch.
Well, bud.
I'm just starstruck. But anyways, I think that's all the topics we have today for the on the Less is More Sports podcast. As always, be sure to comment in the section below or tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, if you agree, disagree with our takes. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Less is More Sports. Klucas, I can't remember your handle half the time. Sometimes it's like I think it's Zero Dark 30. Other times I think it's just
No,
Jacob
that's just the name. So it's just at Jacob Klucas.
Fair enough. So follow us on. And since he's not on the show, I'll go ahead and say follow our third co-host, Matthew Spencer, at MTL Spencer. But as always, it's your host, Les Abbott.
Jacob Klucas.
See, horns up. I like it. We out.
Horns to the side. Don't do that.
I think you're just hating now. All right. I'm stopping recording now. This is bad.